The National Naval Aviation Museum, just west of Pensacola, is the world's largest naval aviation museum. Hi,
Sir.
so tell us about the museum.
We just have a lot of aircraft stemming from way back when, as you can see up there, to modern day aircraft. So it's really has a lot of history, a lot of stories, and I hope you all enjoy it.
How many aircraft are there?
I'm not sure. Any questions you have is probably better for him. This is our first day, actually.
It's the first day here?
We're just bag checkers.
The place is laid out chronologically. You can wander through here if you paid attention in history class. It'll work for you.
Founded in 1962, the museum moved to its current location in 1974. The museum displays more than 4,000 artifacts and over 150 restored aircraft representing Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard aviation. The museum houses 350,000 square feet of exhibit space and, on the outside, 37 acres of grounds.
Down to your right is World War I, beginnings of naval aviation. As you continue around counterclockwise, you'll find yourselves on a World War II flat top.
During World War II, the Allies commissioned a total of 181 aircraft carriers, compared to Japan's total of only 19.
Look at the plane, it's coming!
And while I was on the flight deck during my deployment, I was a flight deck rover. A flight deck rover consists of roving the flight deck before each aircraft went and launched and came back when it recovered to see what ordnance was on the station and what ordnance was expended during the process of flight.
You would let you go out the back door towards Hangar Bay 1, where we have the displays associated with Vietnam and the Gulf Wars. However, that's closed this week. They're re-spotting a bunch of aircraft. The beauty of it is virtually everything here is the real deal. There's a couple of replicas. That up there, the A1 Triad, that's a replica of the first airplane that the Navy bought.
With a top speed of 97 miles per hour, the SC-4 was used for training, and after the war, in Hollywood, in the movies Hell's Angels and Dawn Patrol. As World War I raged across Europe, a dream of crossing the Atlantic entirely by plane evolved in America. The Navy recruited a team of 18 pilots and staff to make this crossing. The flight took nearly 3 weeks and included 6 stops.
But if you'll notice the markings, the world famous Flying Tigers, right? American Volunteer Group, AVG. China is being attacked by Japan, and we want to whittle China down, or Japan down as much as we can. So we've we offered up these airplanes and had a bunch of mercenary pilots. And the fellow who coordinated everything was named Claire Chenault. So he went to the Army, the Navy, and the Marine Corps and recruited pilots. Okay? He had 100 pilots in the first group to go over, and 60 of them were Navy and Marine Corps. So the Blue Angels fly 18 inches apart. And when they fly, the wing is over the canopy. But it's up, they've got 18 inches, 1.5 foot of clearance up there. President George H.W. Bush flew that airplane twice. And he did his training in Minneapolis, Minnesota in January. So you can imagine how comfortable he was. That is an open cockpit airplane. In Pensacola during World War II, we trained 65,000 pilots for the Navy and the Marine Corps in the Coast Guard. 65,000 pilots, so we had air training bases all over the country. So the Japanese started World War II with a 0 and finished World War II with a 0. Think about the American Navy, Marine Corps. We started with the Wildcat, then we went to the Hellcat and Corsair in the middle, and then we were ready with the next generation Bearcat, which the first squadron was at Pearl Harbor when we dropped the atomic bomb. And so, you know, when you really think about aircraft production, ship production, for example, the Japanese built about 25 carriers during World War II. We built 150. The Japanese, when they designed that airplane, they made it really light and had no defense capabilities whatsoever. They were 2,000 pounds per airplane lighter than the Wildcat. So the Wildcat was 2,000 pounds, a ton heavier, and we're only talking 8,000 pounds in the Wildcat, about 6,000 pounds in Zero. So that 2,000 pounds is significant. So as a result, if you go to the vertical, even though the Zero only had a 950 horsepower motor and the Wildcat had a 1,200 horsepower motor, all that extra weight and drag, you're still going to run out of energy before the Zero. And so what the Zero pilot wanted to do is drag you up. You get to those high altitudes and you run out of energy, you fall off, and then he just runs over and comes heading past you.
You used to fly in one of these.
Absolutely. I was a flight engineer setting up here.
Wow.
South Pacific for 3 years.
Wow. That's very impressive. Can you tell me one of the battles you were in?
Well, I was in quite a few of them. Some were not so bad and some were pretty bad. But they started to change our operation, which is the beauty of all of that. You can see how big and slow we were. We're very vulnerable. In the Guadalcanal campaign, we lost several crews.
You lost what?
We lost several crews.
Wow.
So we finally got relieved, went back to San Diego, and the squadron reformed. Well, I stayed with the squadron, but this time they painted us black and called us the Black Cats, and sent us right back to the Pacific for another tour. So we started flying night operations, a blessing. We had British radar, and we could pick up a ship 50, 60 miles away, home in them. We could see their beautiful big wake in the water. They couldn't see us. What a blessing. We started to enjoy flying.
Yeah.
So this was, I see on machine guns you have like bombs and torpedo type things too?
And what?
You have machine guns. Did you also have bombs and torpedoes to sink the big ships?
Yeah. Right up there was extra in the bomb racks. We carried 2 500-pound bombs on each. See all those T-slots? That's where extra in the bomb racks were, each wing.
2 500-pound bombs in each wing.
Yeah.
Did you remember sinking any of the Japanese ships?
Yeah. this night operation made it pretty simple. We could see them, they couldn't see us. As soon as we made contact, the first thing we had to do was send in a contact report. What type ship it was, what direction it was going. And as soon as that report got over the air over the radio, we were lined up on a gliding bomb attack for that wake in the water. Beautiful target. They couldn't see us. We could see them. We got credit for sinking over 100,000 tons of enemy shipping and damaging 100,000 tons in our night operations and never lost an aircraft.
Despite being pulverized by conventional bombing, the Japanese refused to surrender, forcing America to resort to the recently created atomic bombs. The second floor of the museum houses smaller rooms and hallways with unique themes, such as this repair station and this movie theater made up of the inside of an airplane. There's a walkthrough of the interior of a ship with setups of its various stations. Here's a fetching panorama of a Pacific Island base camp. Next was a mock-up of small-town America during the war, beginning with this general store. Note the prices.
The person would get a sheet of red and a sheet of blue a month. And the blue were for your canned goods and the red was for your fats and your meats. Butter and cheese were considered fats, so those were also rationed. The things that were not rationed were wheat products, cereal, bread, wheat, bread, milk, fresh produce, and fish were not rationed. They did not have to have stamps for those. Your meats were whatever the distributor had that month. So he might have a glut of pork chops one month and then maybe, lamb chops the next. It just depended on what he got, in. And the reason that they started the rationing in World War II was because in World War I they did not. And it was sort of like the toilet paper debacle, where everybody cleared the shelves because they panicked. And people were starving, especially the ones out in the country who did not have readily access to a bunch of canned goods, or they didn't have ready access with money. From Sandy Ridge, Alabama. It was in a business in the 1940s.
We had the post office then too?
Yes, Western Union was here, the post office. This was all inclusive because gas was rationed, and for the people out in the country to get into the big city for things like the post office and Western Union was just real difficult. The first food stuff to be rationed was sugar. It was also the last thing to come off of the rationing list. And the first non-rationed or non-food thing rationed was rubber.
There's a long hall of honor where brass plaques commemorate naval aviation heroes from over the decades. As I strolled along, I picked out several names I recognized. One gets a nice overall view of the museum floor from the second floor walkway.
Flat plane, either a wall, a floor, another wall, or the ceiling. But again, all you have to do is turn yourself and your reference changes.
For those with a strong sense of adventure and even a stronger stomach, there are tumbling machines. I prefer my hands-on interactions in a quieter setting. To top off a great visit to this marvelous museum, you have to have a drink at the museum's pub.
Subic Bay was the Navy base in the Philippines, and the volcano erupted, and they took pictures of everything and recreated the bar here in the museum. And the bar stools and everything is original of the bar that was over in the Philippines.
Wow.
What about all the decorations?
Yes.
That's amazing. What a great story.
It is. Thank you. Yeah.
This museum is definitely worth a special trip to Pensacola. Please subscribe to my YouTube videos, and thank you for watching.